In times of mourning and loss, as a tradition, we turn to the words of our ancestors, as for thousands of years we have found comfort in the words of the psalmists. And so, as we remember our family member, our friend Buddy, so do we turn to those same words that have guided our people for all of these generations. As the psalmist taught, Adam v'dede'ehu ben anosh v'tichashvehu, God, what are we that you have regard for us? What are we that you are mindful of us? Like a breath, our days are as a passing shadow. We come and go like grass, which in the morning shoots up renewed, in the evening it fades and withers. You cause us to revert to dust, saying, Return, O mortal creatures. Would that we were wise, that we understood whither we are going. When we die, we carry nothing away. Our glory does not accompany us. Mark the wholehearted. Behold the upright. They shall have peace, God. To redeem the soul of your servants, and none who trust in you shall be desolate. From Ecclesiastes, we're reminded as well, the kol zma b'to chefetz tachat hashamayim, eit laledet ve'eit lamut, eit latat ve'et kornetua, eit lifrotz ve'et livnot, eit livkot ve'et lizchok, eit tzvod ve'ekod, eit shlich avanim ve'knos avanim, eit lechavok ve'chot mechabek, eit levakesh ve'abed, eit lishmor ve'et lashlich, eit likrov ve'et litpor, eit chashot ve'et ledaber. For everything, there is a season. Time for every experience under heaven. Time to be born, and yes, a time to die. Time to plant, time to uproot that which is planted. Time to tear down, time to build up. Time to weep and a time to laugh. Time to grieve and a time to dance. Time to throw stones and a time to gather stones. Time to embrace, time to refrain from embracing. Time to seek and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to discard, a time to tear, a time to sow, time to keep silence, and a time to speak. And although we're filled not just with a heaviness of heart, a silence that envelops us in the midst of our loss, our tradition tells us it's words that we turn to that remind us of a life well lived, that remind us of the values of this special man, of what made him tick, of what kept him going, and how he connected to so many of us. Well, who better to do that than his family, than his children? And so I invite his three kids to come forward to share. First Brett, and then Carly and Craig. The three of you will come together. If I'm reading it, Craig, you're still standing with me.
A wise man once said, "A man does not become a man until his father dies." I'm truly grateful for everyone that was able to be here and for all the calls and texts from family and friends. I'm in awe of how many people have supported us and helped us to just be here today. So, what can I say? The past 2 months have been hard, but some pretty amazing things have happened too. I've watched my family come together. I've watched people drop everything just to come in and see my mom. I've seen bridges rebuilt with family members coming back into our lives. I've had people close to me share stories of their pain just to help me through mine. I've learned that Craig, Carly, and I are different, but our differences make us collectively stronger. I'm blown away with Cheryl and how she's been my rock through all this. She's been strong for me so I could be strong for everyone else. And I'm very impressed with all my mom's adulting lately. She's had to be a grown-up for the past 2 months. and I'm proud of her and all she's done, and she's stronger than I think she ever thought she could be. You are. The fact is, death is an absolute certainty, but how you live this life is a choice. And in this life, what matters most are the people you bring into it. I love my father, and I will miss him every day. I might skip and go a little faster. Some things that I will remember are the stories that he used to tell us. And I might not remember the specifics, but he's told me these stories 1,000 times. And I'll also remember my dad singing songs to Madeline on the couch, and the way she looked at him and they just laughed and smiled. And listening to my dad talk about coins with Nathan. My dad's the reason he started collecting coins in the first place, and whether it was going to a coin show or showing off new coins at breakfast or looking at coins in his office, they just both really enjoyed doing it together. And I loved our Sunday breakfast. So Carly has her own story for how it started, but here's at least how it started for Nathan and I. So Nathan and I used to wake up. I'll try that one more time. Nathan and I used to wake up really early, like really, really early, like 5 or 6 o'clock. And we immediately got dressed and ran out of the house. And the whole goal of that was just so we didn't wake Madeline up. So we usually just went out and picked up donuts and brought them home for Cheryl and Madeline. And one day my dad and I were just talking, and we just talked about doing breakfast together one day. And it was great. And with all the chaos in life, it was just easy. It was early in the morning, it was before everyone woke up, and it was great. So we did it the next week, and then the next. And soon Mom joined us. And if other family members were up, or if they were in town, they'd come too. The last week we did it, we had 5 tables connected at DNR. It never mattered where we went or who came, just that we were there. We'll miss you. I love you. Bye, Dad.
Dad, I don't even know where to possibly begin. I am writing this, but I can't actually believe that this is happening. I remember you promising me you would always be here for me, and now I just can't believe you're not here, and I need you the most. You were the one who always got me through funerals and held my hand. And I wish you were holding my hand today to get me through this. When I think about my childhood, I think about you and Mom and our Sunday adventures, and we would go anywhere and everywhere. We would go to Geauga Lake and Geneva and Conneaut, the movies, putt-putt, and the list could go on and on. The best part about it was we never knew until the day where we were going. We would sit in the car and try to figure out a plan for the day. Mom and I were so indecisive about where we wanted to go and where we wanted to eat, and 9 times out of 10, you made the choice, and it was always the one we wanted. We just didn't know it. You always knew exactly what to do for us, better than we knew ourselves. My favorite memories are the times we would go to breakfast together. You would sit and read your paper and drink your black coffee while eating oatmeal or Eggs Benedict. And once you were done reading, you would usually share a story that you probably already shared 500 times before. Or 1,000. They never got old or less funny. Every time you told it, I felt like it was the first time I would be hearing it, even though I could probably tell it myself and knew every word you were about to say. You would think, after hearing them so many times, that I could think of them and tell them word for word. But I feel like they are your stories, and without you here, they're not the same. Another memory that is so special to me was celebrating yours and Mom's 45th anniversary in Columbus. Sometimes it can get so hectic with so many different schedules, and it was one weekend that worked and came together so perfectly. It was so amazing being together and celebrating your wonderful marriage and looking at your family and realizing what a great job you did with Mom, raising 3 great kids who married 3 amazing people to having 5 wonderful grandchildren. While I didn't get to watch you love Mom for 45 years, the 30 years that I witnessed were truly amazing. You guys taught us how important family is and to always love and be there for each other. We knew we could always count on you, Dad. Whatever we needed, you were there for us. Whether we couldn't drive in the snow, or we needed you to watch one of our kids, or we really just needed support and to talk through some things, it really didn't matter. You were there for us without any hesitation. You were the strongest guy I know, and Craig, Brett, and Mom and I are strong because we have watched you be so strong our whole lives. I have no idea what we're going to do without you. You will be missed each and every day. We love you so much.
So I don't give a lot of speeches. So I gave Michael my speech, and I knew you guys were going to do this to me. So just in case, I wrote something down. Dad always had a strong personality and was tough to everyone outside of his friends and family. One of my proudest memories was probably around age 7 or 8. By this time, the school knew to call Dad and not Mom if I needed stitches, since the tree, the slide, and the 3-wood. Dad picked me up from Bryden, and following urgent care, we went to the old Jack's Deli with the stools and the counter. Because my shirt was all bloodied up, they allowed just this time for me to sit at the counter without my shirt off so we could drink our chocolate phosphates together. He was a great man, husband, son, brother, father, and papa. We love you forever and always.
Thank you for wanting to share and honor your dad in that way. And I know, once again, another example of how you make him proud. The rabbis ask, why, in the midst of the chaos of our world, did God create humanity? And they respond, because God loves stories. Few individuals in their lives can attest to that as much as Buddy. For he loved a good story and loved telling and retelling that story as his children told us. Really, he made his life that story and this adventure, and he made it fun. Man was unique, original, very much his own person. There was the usual way of doing things, and then there was Uncle Buddy's way of doing things. Smart and imaginative he was. It was just Buddy's world, how you got things done. A character, to say the least. As his mother-in-law noticed early, he was a bull in a china shop. I think he loved that image when he was around her. But really, in every single event and stage and thing of his life, it's exactly what he was, and it's what he did. As a husband, a dad, a grandfather, a son, a brother, an uncle, a friend, a part of this world, Buddy was Buddy. His own person with that big voice who really couldn't be stopped. From his earliest years until the very end. From the memories of his childhood, stories remembered so fondly by his sisters and their families, Arlie and her Marv of blessed memory, Cookie and Alan and Sandra. What you saw as children, well, truly consistent all of his days, relentless, fearless, and loving his family. As a toddler, when the family would go for walks, a harness had been created for Buddy to keep him from running off. Of course, it really couldn't contain him. On family vacation in Detroit, as you enter the museum with the revolving doors, Buddy enjoyed them so much, he just stayed in those revolving doors, spinning and spinning and spinning. Then there were the adventures of the cottage at Chippewa. As a young boy, he'd wade into the water. He had figured the way to take the boat out on his own and go on his own little excursions. By 10, he was driving his dad's truck along the gravel roads. Yes, for his own children and hearing the stories, some of them have become apocryphal over the years. Yet last night, they were actually corroborated. Like the time at age 10 when he jumped off a roof because he could. Or thanks to his love of swimming, he would just jump off the end of the dock into the lake, one time landing on a girl beneath him, and then having to spend the rest of the summer in a net cast. Or the time when he landed on a pipe after jumping in the water only to end up with 100 stitches. The stress he must have caused his parents, Melba and Charlie. Actually, the only time I ever heard the name Harold being pronounced, I believe it was after a Thanksgiving meal. Uncle Buddy was razzing me about something. Grandma Melba pronounced Harold. I didn't know that was his name. Little did we know that he was given that name because his older sister, Cookie, couldn't say brother. And the word Buddy came out. And forever, it's all we know. Yes, Buddy could be a daredevil. So his driving escapades didn't always end so well. Drag racing on Shaker Boulevard only to slam into a parked car. The instances were numerous. And these moments were added to his stories and to his fun. Did I mention fearless? Relentless? It served him well in meeting Linda, his yin, as he called you. You were actually out with another guy. He noticed you in your red coat. He went up and spoke with you and asked around to find out more about you and the guy that you were with. And then he called you and asked you out. You said no. You were already dating 2 guys at that time, so there really wasn't any time for this. Buddy said, I'm not asking you to get married. I'm just asking you out to dinner. And so you did. And from there, it fell into place. Because obviously Buddy had made up his mind, knew what he wanted, just like he did always when you were together. Like at the movies with his arm wrapped around you, still doing that 40 years later, holding you close and tight and reaching around for the popcorn. Yes, he did his own thing, his own way. Wanted you to be part of that, and the process became your partner over 45 years of marriage. In your words, Linda, he was the best husband, wonderful, doing everything for you, caring for you, loving you, protecting you, everything that you could do together. All the shows and movies, the simplicity of just walking around and enjoying each other's company. And again, how important was family, the value you both shared so deeply, so that your sisters were his, Susan and Arani, Nancy and her Ira. In your words, he was like a big brother, really helping to raise you, and as adults, doing the same when there was a need, being there for you. When you were single, he'd come over to fix whatever it was that was needed fixing. Yes, he might get there right away, but the fixing probably wouldn't happen as quickly as needed or wanted. He'd bring the wrong parts, the wrong tools, but eventually he'd come back and get it done. It was Buddy. It was his schedule. If a family had a need, Buddy knew this to be the priority. Earlier in life, when learning from their mom secretly that Buddy had just won $325 at the racetrack, you, Cookie, thought it would be a funny joke to play on him, to call him, tell him you needed some money, that you were in a bind and just happened to need $325. And without hesitation, Buddy said, "Of course you can have it," because that's what he did. How proud Buddy was of everyone in his family. He'd talk about them all, his nieces and nephews. He loved to regale others with his stories, bragging about the family he loved so. As his children, you saw him do this all the time. But who he was most proud of, who he talked to us about, what we saw, was his love and pride in the three of you, Craig and Stacy, Brett and Cheryl, and Carly and Kevin. So much he did for you, and yes, he did it his way, as the three of you explained beautifully. That gigantic fish tank he had to have filled with a lionfish and that eel, not the kindest or friendliest of creatures, but they were cool. Kids would like them. Yet once that eel got out and went to attack you, Brett, the tank became no more, a protector ultimately of you three, first and foremost. And yes, when you asked him to do something like run out in the evening and go get custard, he'd say no, that he was tired. But then within 5 minutes, Carly, he'd return to you and say, "Let's go." He couldn't miss an opportunity to do for you, to be with his children. So often it was the little things, the things you only realize now looking back, and how he always put you first, how long you thought, you believed that your dad's favorite color was yellow. But it wasn't. You didn't know that, because that was the color he always ended up with when playing games, because he would never choose first. He'd make sure you got what you wanted. The only color ever left was yellow, so he'd take it happily. Simple, just a color. But so emblematic of him just doing without anyone realizing how much he was thinking about you all first. The joy you gave him in your lives, in your accomplishments, watching him at each of your weddings, the nachas he felt, walking you down the aisle, saying to me, "She did good," and seeing the pride in his eyes. Doing his best always, standing by your side, supporting. And that love exponentially grew for your children, for those who called him Papa. Dylan, Kaylee, Madeline, Nathan, and now Jacob. An amazing grandpa, how natural it was for Buddy to be there, to sing just as his mother Melba had done with him. The two of them used to love to sing together. Now singing to his grandchildren all the time, affectionately, tenderly, with joy and love, and making it so much fun. The chief cook when you were around, the maker of the best hamburgers and hot dogs, macaroni and beef and spaghetti, going to the soccer games and baseball games, your concerts, sharing so many of the things he enjoyed most, but most of all with you. Taking you bowling, and Buddy was an amazing bowler, racking up a number of 300 scored games. Going to the fairs together, the master of that claw grabber machine over the years. Playing putt-putt, going to the park and grilling ribs and steaks. Always up for a game of cards. Whatever it was, Papa was making it fun, because family time was what it was all about. Family time was about creating these lasting connections, these memories, the stories he was giving you that you'll always have. Interesting, when we open up the Torah this week, it's the portion Beshalach of our people's exodus from Egypt. Moses leading the Israelites with the Egyptians in hot pursuit right behind them. And when they got to the sea, of course, they waited there and they were stuck. We all know how the story ends, of course, how the sea splits, but what we don't know is what the rabbis tell us about a man named Nachshon, that the sea didn't split at first. See, Moses raised his hands and nothing happened in that moment. The rabbis taught, though, one man, Nachshon, just began to go into the water, to walk in ahead of everyone else. The water was up to his ankles, nothing happened. The water was up to his knees and nothing happened. To his waist, to his chest, to his chin, nothing happened. But when it finally reached over his nose, then the water split. And the Israelites fled across the sea as it split before them on dry land. The rabbis taught it was because of this one man, Nachshon, his faith, his ability to take a risk, to do something differently, his ability to think differently and just jump, that saved us as a people. Interesting, we read this portion this week. We're told sometimes in life we don't choose Torah portions, they choose us in momentous moments. And so here we are honoring, remembering, loving our friend Buddy, our family member who we've lost. And we find ourselves in this portion about a man who just jumped in the water and did. And how that helped our people. And how, just like this man, helped his family and his friends, who was perpetually our Uncle Buddy. Yes, a friend, a father, a grandfather, a brother, a husband. Reminding us that in times in life we just need to jump, just to do. Our world can lead us to that. And when we experience that with someone like Buddy, we're touched a little. And it stays with us beyond the physical, beyond this world. And we know that those blessings, those gifts, those memories, those stories will continue to always be a part of who we are in our lives. We remind ourselves, Adonai Natan, God has given a gift in this life, Adonai Lakach. God has taken that away. He Shem Adonai Mavarach. Although we yearn for more time, we know we're blessed because of the years of our friend Buddy's life, our family member, and how it will always be a part of who we are. And so, standing alongside the mourners, we rise now together and stand as one community, as one congregation, as we ask God to have compassion on Buddy's soul. Emolei Rachamim, Shochein Bamromim, Amatzei Menuchanu Chanat Achak Kefei Shechina Im Kerushim Atorim Kuzor Harakia Mazirim, Et Nishmat Zvi Ben Yechskel V'Mina, Shachal Olamo, Ba'ad Harachamim Yistarehu Beseter Knafav the Olamim, Mitzor B'Tzor HaChaim, Et Nishmato, Anahu Nachalato, V'Yanuach B'Shalom Al Mishkavo V'Nomar. Amen. Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to Tzvi ben Yechskel V'Mina, to our Buddy Cohen who has entered eternity. God of mercy, let him find refuge in your eternal presence in the shadow of your wings. Let his soul be bound up in the bonds of everlasting life. God is his inheritance. May he rest in peace. And let us all say, Amen.